There are moments in life when the weight of struggle feels unbearable, when the road ahead seems clouded with doubt, fear, and hardship. In those moments, it's easy to fall into a mindset that frames adversity as punishment or injustice. But what if that very struggle was the catalyst for growth? What if the setback was actually a setup for something greater? Transforming one's perspective means choosing to view every challenge, not as a wall to stop us, but as a doorway leading to a better version of ourselves. Most people face challenges believing that they are being singled out, that life is unfairly tough on them. But challenges are not unique punishments, they are universal invitations. Everyone, at some point, is tested. The key difference between those who overcome and those who succumb lies in their perception. Do they see the situation as a curse, or do they choose to see it as a lesson, a stepping stone? When we begin to see hardship as a classroom rather than a courtroom, something powerful happens. Our energy shifts. Instead of wasting time asking, "Why me?" we begin to ask, "What now?" or "What can I learn from this?" That shift, in focus from victim to student, empowers us. It gives us control over our growth, even when we don't have control over our circumstances. There is a silent power in choosing to grow through pain. Consider the seed buried in the soil. In darkness, under pressure, it begins to crack. It might seem like destruction is taking place, but in truth, transformation is happening. The seed has to break in order to grow. Likewise, pressure in our lives often feels like it's breaking us when really, it's reshaping us. The pain you feel today might be the force molding you into the person you were always meant to become. But you have to choose to see it that way. Your perspective is your lens, and your lens shapes your life. The truth is, adversity doesn't define us. Our reaction to it does. Two people can go through similar trials and come out completely different. One becomes bitter, resentful, and defeated. The other becomes wiser, stronger, and more resilient. What made the difference? Not the event itself, but how each person chose to interpret and respond to it. Perception becomes the paintbrush with which we color our lives. If you paint your experience with despair, your world will seem bleak. But if you paint it with purpose, even your darkest days will shine with meaning. It's not about pretending that pain doesn't exist, or that everything happens for a perfect reason. It's about owning your response. It's about choosing to believe that what's happening can somehow serve you, even if you don't see it yet. That belief is where strength is born. That belief is what fuels perseverance, even when logic says to quit. Life is filled with moments that test our resolve. It's not a matter of if they come, it's a matter of when. And when they do, you must remember that perspective is power. If you believe you're being crushed, you will shrink. But if you believe you're being shaped, you will rise. The same fire that melts wax can harden steel. The outcome depends on the substance, and your substance is determined by the story you choose to tell yourself in hardship. Think about the moments in your life when you grew the most. Were they during comfort, or were they in seasons of discomfort, when you were pushed to your limits? Growth rarely comes from ease. It's forged in friction. So the next time you feel the pressure, don't run from it. Lean into it. Ask what it's teaching you. Ask how it's refining you. There's a quote that says, "Where you stumble, there lies your treasure." Often the greatest breakthroughs lie just behind the places that hurt the most. Pain is a messenger. It doesn't come to punish you, it comes to awaken you. It forces you to confront, to reflect, and ultimately to elevate. But none of that happens without the right perspective. If you only see the pain, you'll miss the purpose. If you only feel the weight, you'll never discover your wings. Choosing to reframe your trials takes discipline. It requires you to pause in the middle of chaos and say, "This is hard, but it's not hopeless." It takes strength to say, "This is painful, but it's building me." That level of awareness, that level of intentionality changes everything. Suddenly you become a co-creator of your destiny, not just a passive recipient of fate. It's not about being blindly optimistic. It's about being unshakably grounded in the belief that your experience, no matter how tough, can still serve you. That belief gives you permission to keep going, to keep showing up, and to keep growing through the storm. And as you do, you begin to realize that the struggle isn't in your way, it is the way. Every person who's ever achieved something remarkable has faced moments of doubt, pain, and difficulty. But they saw those moments differently. They didn't see their challenges as roadblocks, they saw them as rites of passage. They understood that growth doesn't come from what happens to you. It comes from how you interpret what happens to you and what you choose to do with it. So, when you're in the fire, remember this. Your perspective can either burn you or build you. You can let the heat consume you, or you can let it mold you into something stronger. The choice is always yours. It won't be easy. It won't always be clear. But the more you practice seeing the gift in the grind, the more powerful you become. Ultimately, perspective is the root of transformation. It shapes your mindset, your emotions, and your actions. If you can master your perception, you can master your response. And when you can do that, there's no limit to what you can overcome. Winning isn't a destination, it's an identity. It's not something to be reached someday in the distant future, but something that is lived out every single day, in every choice, every action, and every mindset. To truly win, one must first believe, know that winning is not just possible but inevitable. It's not just about getting ahead or beating the odds. It's about realizing that everything needed to win is already within. The seeds of greatness aren't found in external validation or shiny trophies. They're buried deep in the soil of discipline, struggle, and relentless perseverance. And those seeds grow only when watered with action and belief. The world doesn't hand over victory without a fight. It doesn't reward hesitation. It rewards conviction. It rewards the ones who decide, with absolute certainty, that they were built for more than average. That no matter what life throws at them, they'll rise. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Because something inside them simply won't quit. And that inner fire, that unshakable will, is what separates winners from everyone else. It's not talent, it's not luck, it's not timing, it's identity. It's waking up and declaring, this is who I am. I was made for this. Some people spend their whole lives waiting for the perfect moment. They wait for clarity, for confidence, for a sign. But winners? Winners don't wait. They move. They act. They stumble. They fall. But they get up swinging. Because they know the only way to become unstoppable is to be willing to look foolish, to be willing to be underestimated, to be willing to suffer now so they can shine later. They're not afraid of failure, because they know failure is just another step on the way to success. Every fall sharpens their focus. Every setback builds more grit. It's in the struggle that they find their strength. There's something magnetic about a person who knows who they are. Not someone trying to prove it to the world, but someone living it, breathing it, embodying it. When life hits them hard, they don't crumble. They adjust their stance. They recalibrate their aim. They take the punch and come back harder. That kind of confidence doesn't come from having all the answers. It comes from a decision. A moment in time where everything changes because they refuse to settle. They refuse to let circumstances dictate the outcome. They refuse to be average. Average is comfortable. Average is safe. But average never builds legacies. The decision to win starts with stepping out of the comfortable zone where everything is familiar but nothing grows. Growth demands discomfort. It demands pressure. It demands going places others avoid, doing the work others skip, and making choices that feel lonely but are necessary. Because while others are partying, sleeping, or scrolling, the winner is building, crafting their future, showing up when no one else is. Not because they're motivated, but because they're committed. Commitment doesn't always feel good. In fact, it often hurts. There will be days when the mind screams for a break, when the body aches, when the heart questions if it's all worth it. And in those moments, most people quit. But not the winner. The winner leans in. They remind themselves of the why, of the vision, of the dream too important to let die. And that's what fuels the next rep, the next hour, the next fight. The internal dialogue shifts from, can I do this, to, I will do this. Because doubt has no place in the heart of a champion. People often mistake a winner's drive for arrogance. They don't understand that it's not about being better than someone else. It's about being better than who they were yesterday. It's about a constant war within. A fire that burns quietly, pushing them to refine, to evolve, to rise. That drive doesn't come from applause or approval. It comes from vision, from purpose, from knowing that they were born with something unique, something powerful, and refusing to let that gift go unused. That's not ego, that's ownership, that's responsibility. And let's be clear, winning isn't always loud. It doesn't always look like headlines or highlight reels. Sometimes winning is getting up on a day you didn't want to. It's pushing through when your heart is heavy. It's saying no to short-term pleasure because long-term success matters. More, it's having the courage to walk alone when no one believes in your path. That's real victory. That's the foundation winners build on, not the shiny outcomes but the gritty, uncelebrated moments that no one sees. That's where the real work happens. In silence, in solitude, in sacrifice. That's why the winner doesn't chase external validation. They know it's fleeting. The world applauds today and forgets tomorrow, but self-respect, that lasts. That's earned. That's built in the trenches. And every moment of discipline, every drop of sweat, every ounce of pain, it all adds up. It's an investment. Not in a result, but in an identity. A deep-rooted belief that they are capable, worthy, and destined for more. That belief? It can't be shaken, because it wasn't given. It was built. When adversity hits, the winner doesn't flinch. They know adversity is part of the process. It's the refiner's fire. It's what burns away weakness and exposes the warrior within. It doesn't scare them, it energizes them. It reminds them that they're alive, that they're on the right path, that greatness is near. Most people run from resistance. Winners run toward it. Because they know pressure creates diamonds, and they weren't born to be coal. They were born to shine. This isn't just about sports, business, or personal goals. This is about life. About stepping into every arena. Relationships, health, purpose, with the mindset of a champion, with the hunger to grow, to serve, to impact. It's not just about personal gain. It's about becoming someone others can count on. Someone who leads by example, who inspires not with words but with action, who shows the world what's possible when you refuse to quit. It's not about pretending to be perfect. It's about owning the flaws, the failures, the fears, and pushing forward anyway. The journey won't be easy. It's not supposed to be. But the reward? It's worth it. Every time. Because when you truly believe that winning is who you are, every obstacle becomes fuel. Every day becomes an opportunity. And no matter how hard it gets, you keep showing up. Because that's what winners do. Wanting something is only the beginning. It's a spark, a flicker of interest in the vast landscape of possibility. But to achieve anything extraordinary, that flicker must become a fire. Uncontrollable. Unrelenting. When a person simply wants something, they treat it like an option. If it's convenient, they'll chase it. If it fits into their day, they'll work on it. But when a person needs something, when their desire matures into necessity, it changes everything. It shifts the way they walk, talk, think, and breathe. It's no longer about whether or not they feel motivated. It becomes a matter of survival. This transformation is where true change begins. There's a difference between hoping for success and demanding it of yourself. Between saying, "I'd like to succeed," and declaring, "I will not be denied." That difference is everything. When your goals are no longer wishes but requirements, your actions align with a higher standard. You don't wait for inspiration. You create your own momentum. You don't hope opportunity will come. You prepare relentlessly so that when it does, you're ready. Because now the goal is part of your identity. It's not something external. It's embedded in your spirit. The ones who make it in this world aren't the ones who merely dream. It's the ones who turn those dreams into daily disciplines. They turn emotion into motion. They don't just want to succeed, they have no other option. They've burned the bridges behind them. There is no plan B. They aren't looking for a safety net because they've decided to fly or fall trying. That's the difference between desire and determination. Desire is soft. Determination is sharp. It cuts through distractions, excuses, and fear. When you need it like you need to breathe, you show up differently. You wake up with intention, you don't hit snooze, you don't skip the grind. You train, you study, you build, you hustle. Not because someone told you to, but because the fire inside demands it. You feel uncomfortable when you're not making progress. Idle time doesn't feel restful. It feels wrong. You're not content with average anymore. Mediocrity tastes bitter. Every cell in your body pushes you toward more. Because more is the only thing that makes sense now. Think about what happens to someone who's drowning. They don't care about appearances, distractions, or opinions. They're not scrolling on their phone or waiting for the right moment. They fight. They kick. They scream. They do whatever it takes to reach the surface. That's the kind of urgency required for your goals. That's the kind of intensity you need to bring to the table every single day. Because if you don't, someone else will. And they'll take what could have been yours. Desperation often gets a bad reputation. But when it's directed, focused, and purposeful, it becomes one of the most powerful forces on earth. A person who is desperate to succeed is dangerous to failure. They're immune to rejection. Setbacks don't slow them down, they energize them. They learn fast, adapt faster, and never stop moving. Because deep down, they've decided. And, once a decision is made, truly made, the rest is execution. The energy flows from that decision, and it feeds every step forward. Most people quit because they never made that internal decision. They wanted it, sure, but they didn't need it. So when life got hard, they folded. They walked away, they convinced themselves it wasn't worth it. But those who need it don't have that luxury. They push through the storm. They find a way over, under, around, or straight through any obstacle. Not because they're stronger, faster, or smarter, but because their will is anchored in something deeper. They've built a relationship with their purpose that no temporary pain can shake. And it's not just about big moments or dramatic decisions. It's about how you move when no one is watching, when you don't feel like it, when it's cold, dark, and lonely. Those moments define you. That's when the decision gets tested. You'll be tired, distracted, hurt. You'll have reasons to quit. And you'll remember that your commitment isn't tied to comfort, it's tied to something greater, something that lives inside of you, unshaken by circumstances. That's how you know it's real. That's how you know you're ready. You don't beg for opportunities when you need it. You build yourself into the kind of person that attracts them. You speak with clarity. You move with authority. You don't second-guess your worth because you've done the work. You don't chase validation because you've already validated yourself. Your confidence doesn't come from likes, praise, or applause. It comes from quiet nights grinding alone, while the rest of the world slept. There's a version of you that already has everything you're fighting for. That version doesn't skip steps. That version doesn't settle. And every time you act like it's already yours, every time you move with belief, you close the gap. You become what you pursue. You attract what you respect. If you treat your goals like a side quest, they'll stay out of reach. But if you treat them like oxygen, like your next breath depends on them, you'll find a way. This isn't about hype. It's not about feeling good. It's about deciding who you are and proving it every day. Your habits reflect your hunger. Your discipline reflects your decision. And your results reflect your reality. So the question isn't, do you want it? The question is, will you do what it takes? Because if you've really decided, if you've truly transformed desire into determination, then your answer is already in motion. You're already on your way.